Hello, welcome to my class, the African Literature class, Summer School 2020. My name is Joseph Mbele, and I'm from Tanzania. I've taught at St. Olaf College since 1991, and on the first day of class, I just want to talk about all kinds of random things about myself, about the course, about my philosophy of teaching, all kinds of things like that. And I want mostly to get the students to know me and also to know how I talk, and also for them to be very comfortable with the class. So welcome to this class, African Literature, Summer School 2020. It's unfortunate that we were not able to connect earlier today when I tried to get us together using Zoom. There were some technical issues, and I would like to work on those. Maybe tomorrow we'll be in better shape. But don't worry about it. I've been able to run a class this semester, a large class, 33 students, and all we did was use email. And the students and myself, we liked it. It went very well, just by email. And I might want to say we will explore that as well for this class. But I did think, because you and I have not met before, except just one of you, the rest of you, I don't know, you haven't seen me, you haven't taken my classes. I thought it would be very necessary to have our meetings in this kinds of way, where we can see each other. So either through Zoom or through Google Meet or something. I do want to make sure that we get back to those things. I had wanted today, our first day, to just make these preliminary remarks, as I say, about myself, about the cause, my philosophy of teaching, and things like that. I come from Tanzania, in East Africa. I'm a Tanzanian. I was born and raised in a rural place in southern Tanzania. Very nice place, high in the mountains. Went to the school there, elementary school. Went to another school, from grade 5 to grade 8, a boarding school. Went to secondary school in the same region. And then later, that's about 12 years now, from elementary to secondary school, 12 years. And then I went to high school, which is 2 years in our country. And then after that high school, I went to the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. It was the only university at the time. Anyway, I studied there, graduated, got to teach there, was hired to teach there. And after a few years, I came to the University of Wisconsin in Madison. I did my graduate studies in the University of Wisconsin, Madison, specializing in African languages and literature. I also did some courses in comparative literature and in English. So after my studies in Madison, I went back to Tanzania to continue teaching. That was in 1986. I taught for 5 years and then was recruited by St. Olaf College in 1990. Yeah, 1990. I was recruited by St. Olaf College English department to introduce and teach courses that were known as post-colonial literatures. That was the name of the field. It was a growing field. Many colleges in the USA were trying to incorporate that field in their programs. And briefly, it's an area, which is outside the British and American tradition, an area of literature outside the British and American tradition, which was traditionally, the preoccupation of English departments. In other words, English departments in the USA used to teach literature from the British tradition and then the American tradition. And so the realization was that this was not right for the students. They needed to be aware, they needed to learn about literature that was coming out of those many, many countries around the world that used to be British colonies and were now free. These are countries from the Pacific region, from Asia, places like Malaysia and India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka, and Africa, countries like Ghana, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Uganda, Sierra Leone, Malawi, Tanzania, South Africa. All this used to be, part of the British Empire. And then you go to the Caribbean, there are places, countries, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, St. Lucia. And there was a lot of literature, great literature coming out of all these places. And so English departments in the USA felt it was necessary for students to come out of English departments having some knowledge of these literatures. So this is what I came to introduce and teach at St. Olaf College. And that's how, I started teaching, African literature, the course you are taking. Sometimes I teach South Asian literature, literature from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, places like that, or Caribbean literature. Sometimes I teach, more localized traditions, say South African literature or Nigerian literature. Or sometimes I'll teach with a focus on a particular author, say an author from Nigeria, Wole Soyinka, say an author from South Africa, Nadine Gordimer, or from the Caribbean, something, like that. I've taught courses on individual authors. So that's a little bit of the background. And this course, African literature, is very special for me. As an African, I'm very proud of my continent, absolutely, and I'm very privileged to be able to share some of its traditions with people around the world. So I embrace this opportunity to teach African literature very enthusiastically. It's not just a personal thing. I think there's even a greater reason, which is that Africa is actually the original home of human beings. And for me, that's a very significant fact. Everything, that humans accomplished, whether it's language and technology and oral traditions, the arts in general. The foundation was laid there in Africa as humans evolved. So for this reason alone, I really feel it's very important for people to have an understanding of the traditions of Africa. That's where everybody came from. That's where all these things started. I'll talk about this another time, most certainly tomorrow. But for today, I just wanted to make these very preliminary remarks. Back to myself. Growing up in southern Tanzania in a rural place, and I'm the firstborn in a farming family. My father and mother just were village cultivators of corn, coffee. They grew coffee, wheat, beans, cassava. They raised cows, chickens, a few goats. And I was growing up, helping them in all these activities. But something touched my heart from very early on, which is the desire to be a teacher. I just felt deep inside a kind of calling, and I stuck with it. I was inspired throughout my years in school. All I wanted was to be a teacher, and that has not changed. I find a lot of fulfillment being with students and teaching. I like reading. I read a lot, and I like doing research. I like writing. So I really, really enjoy being with students. And this is one thing I will guarantee you. You will see I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And I want students to learn, and I want to share the knowledge that I have. It's a great joy to be able to do that. In terms of my philosophy of teaching, I was trained at the University of Dar es Salaam in the theories of people like Paulo Freire, a Brazilian educator whose ideas about teaching were quite unconventional. He taught us to see teaching as a process of learning also. The teacher is also, or should be, a learner. And students should be understood as people who are knowledgeable or who have capabilities which they bring to the class. They have experiences. They have the ability to interpret what we teach. In this case, it's literature. They can read a story, they can comment on it, they can analyze it in their own way. So the classroom has to be a place of dialogue between the teacher and the students. It's not a place where the teacher comes to pontificate. The teacher is not, this, supreme being who knows everything. The teacher should incorporate what the students know into the teaching process. So it's a dialogic kind of experience. And I really insist on making it dialogic. I want to hear from the students because I believe they have something to say, very important things to say. And so it's a back and forth kind of exchange. That's my ideal. But I also believe very strongly that the classroom is a very sacred place, special place. And I believe it's a place where there is freedom of thought. Freedom of thought, freedom of expression is guaranteed in my classroom. You are here as students to learn and to grow, to develop your perspectives, and to be challenged, to challenge yourself, to broaden your horizons. You can only do this effectively if there is complete freedom of thought and freedom of expression. I do not believe in censorship in my classroom. I don't. I also don't think there is any space in the world, any place in the world which has that kind of freedom that I consider the classroom to possess. Once you step out of the classroom, you see there are many constraints, there are rules, there are your relatives, there are all kinds of considerations, I'm a parent, I can't talk the way I talk in the classroom, when I'm not in the classroom. I'm a citizen, I'm a good neighbor of other people, and I talk with them differently. But in the classroom, we need to just be very free to open up and explore ideas and listen to unconventional ideas without flinching. We must give everybody an opportunity to express those ideas. They may make us very uncomfortable. They may be very weird ideas, really weird, but we should develop the attitude of accommodating this and recognizing they are very valuable. They make us grow. Education is about destroying conventional wisdom, challenging conventional wisdom. You look at great educators like Socrates, and I consider Socrates, the best kind of teacher, always questioning things, upsetting people's, common sense. So if we could do this in the classroom and emerge, as completely changed people, maybe confused, I think that's a very successful classroom. To get to a point where we have raised so many questions, we have thought so hard, and we have encountered so many controversial ideas, and we have discovered how complex every idea is, and we are confused. I think that's a great experience. That's what the classroom is for. So people who are very sensitive, they don't want to hear certain viewpoints, they feel offended, they are very delicate, they want us to be politically correct. I don't really feel comfortable with such people in my classroom. They should probably not be in my classroom. I want people to develop the strength of spirit, the inquisitive mind, the readiness to have their ideas challenged, and the readiness to challenge any idea. If we work together that way, we are going to be very successful as a class. And success depends on us working together. The students do their work and I do my work, and we are very free and we accommodate, all kinds of divergent viewpoints. So academic freedom of expression in the classroom, I must insist. I'm not talking about academic freedom on campus, as people say, because for me, campus is a very vast space. There are so many different areas on a campus. There's the post office, there's the cafeteria, there's the library, there is the sidewalk, there's all kinds of places where you don't have students, necessarily. You have visitors, you have parents, you have all kinds of people there, workers who deliver food and mail and things. So you don't treat those people as part of this conversation that I'm talking about. That's why I insist when I talk about academic freedom, I'm really talking about the classroom. My classroom is the kind of place where I feel really free. It's not just on a campus. There are many places on a campus where I don't have that kind of freedom. Nobody has that kind of freedom. So I want to clarify this. So in terms of the books, I have selected a whole bunch of books, about 5, let me say, and I like to vary, the list of books. I don't teach the same books every time I teach a particular course. I might repeat, I might teach again one book or 2, but I also like to incorporate books I've not read. I like to incorporate them because the literature is growing. There are new books being published all the time, great books, and there are many books from any region from the past which I have not read. You can read and read and read. You can't read everything. So I like to change the texts, to have new texts or different texts every time I teach the course. Now, for this time, for this semester, we have 5 books, and I like to go chronologically. For some reason, I like to start with the oldest writer and then proceed chronologically. So this time I have selected for the first text, this one here. It's called Season of Migration to the North. It's by Tayeb Saleh, a writer from Sudan. Season of Migration to the North. This is a translation from Arabic, but it is from Sudan. Sudan is a country in Northeast Africa, south of Egypt and north of Uganda. South of Egypt, north of Uganda. Translation from Arabic. We'll read this. I've never taught it before, but I've heard about it for many years, from the time I was in college, I would say. I have taught some of his short stories, again in English translation. And then after that, we will read Bessie Head, a writer from Botswana, South Africa, Botswana. This woman, Bessie Head, she wrote many novels, short stories, but we'll be doing this one called Maru. Again, I've not read this one. I've read other works of Bessie Head. And after that, we will go to Ghana and we'll read this story, this novel called Changes, by a very famous writer, a woman from Ghana, Ama Ata Aido. I have read her stories from the time I was in high school, I would say, and I have a lot of things to say about her. I've taught her works here at St. Olaf College, but not this one, not this one. I've taught her plays, I've taught her novel, I've taught her short stories also. So to start with, these are the 3 books, and that's the sequence. In terms of grading, students always talk about grades. I do expect everybody to participate in class discussions. This time we'll be doing this online. we cannot meet as we normally do in a classroom. So just be active, read the books, think about them, participate in the conversations, and that's very important. There will also be assignments. I'll ask you to write maybe 2, maybe 3 papers or so, or maybe 4 little ones. I don't care, 2 pages, 2.5 pages, that's enough. And I'll give these topics, so throughout the semester, it's going to be 6 weeks. You'll be writing some little papers, maybe about 4. These are the main things. So your contributions in the class, discussions, and the papers you write. If we were going to be a normal class, I would probably give some exams, where you would sit in the classroom and answer some questions. The way things are this time, working from home, I think the final exam itself will just be another paper. So out of the 4 papers, one of them will be a kind of take-home exam. In the classroom and in my teaching, I want to be very clear that I value students as individuals. I know they have rights. I respect those rights. And the uppermost concern for me is to be fair to every student. And I think, they have a right to learn. And so I have to provide the opportunities for them to be able to learn. And I am there for them. And I want everybody to feel really, really comfortable. And that's one thing I guarantee, making sure everybody feels comfortable and valued and respected. And we need to cultivate those qualities of being attentive to one another, being able to accommodate or listen to other people's views, and just being to agree or disagree respectfully. That way, at your age, you grow up to be very strong, considerate citizens of the world. There's a lot of diversity around the world, cultural diversity, diversity in terms of historical experiences that people bring with them, and to listen to all kinds of people, that's something that we try to build. We should